45 years, 0 name changes, new offices, more staff, improved technology to better serve you. Education, services, investments. Think real estate, think Marshall Reddick. Brokerage, property management, private lending, creating financial independence through real estate since 1979.
All right, everybody, let's get rocking and rolling. Thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have folks learn and listen to us about investing in residential real estate. We really appreciate you guys kind of seeking out new information and knowledge, and we are excited to share with you some new insights into the San Antonio market. And we've got Leroy joining us. Leroy is based out of San Antonio. I'll introduce him shortly. He's one of our great boots on the ground agents that's been helping our investor clients buy awesome deals. So thanks for joining us. My name's Chris Carlson. I'm an advisor with Marshall Reddick. I've been licensed since 2013 and have been doing real estate pretty much my whole career. And have been focused just about exclusively on investors, helping them buy and acquire profitable deals. In multiple states. I've done flips and value adds and all sorts of fun, interesting, creative stuff over my career. And I own out-of-state investment property myself, one of which is actually located in San Antonio. So I can obviously share my experience owning out-of-state investment property if you guys aren't located in Texas or in the San Antonio market. I'm on a call with y'all and kind of what I've been through personally in that market. But I do have a great deal of faith for it, just because of all of the really fantastic market dynamics that Leroy is going to share with you guys. I'm also an investor in our mortgage fund, which share with you what that is. The Marshall Reddick firm itself is a one-stop shop for real estate. So for those of you that are new to Marshall Reddick, we really want to create a inclusive experience for you guys so that there's as little friction as possible when buying an investment property. So what does that mean? Well, we have 4 distinct services. So we've got our real estate brokerage, which entails incredible agents in all of our markets that are our boots on the ground agents. They're trained to help investors how to underwrite deals. Incredible negotiators that have got years and years and years of experience, in some cases decades of experience, and our investors themselves, like Leroy. I know Leroy is actually going through a flip himself and dealing with that. So, talk to him about how wonderful flips are. Yeah, we've got amazing agents, and we do about 600 transactions a year for our investors. Now, I would say none of that is really possible without our property management team, which means, if you've done real estate investing in the past, you probably know that just a small piece of the puzzle of finding a profitable deal is the acquisition. It makes a lot of, you got to find a good deal up front and got to be in a great market. But if you don't have a good property manager to take care of that asset, to enforce the lease, to collect the rents, to find good tenants, to qualify those tenants, to maintain your property and do lease renewals and incremental rent increases and inspect your property. I mean, there's just, the list goes on and on, right? So we've got a fantastic property management team in all the markets that we're located in. We manage close to over 3,000 properties. We actually just hit our 3,000 mark officially just at the end of last year. So this makes the world go round, really, for us investors, is having a good property management team. We're also a private money lender. So we lend money out to folks that are looking for investment deals. We only lend on non-owner occupied residential real estate. The typical borrower is a fix and flipper or a developer or wholesaler, someone maybe investing in their self-directed retirement accounts that maybe can't qualify for a conventional loan. So if you're looking for non-conventional, hard money, I guess, loans, private financing, we're a great resource for that. On the flip side is we also have an investment fund. So our mortgage fund is a debt fund where we raise capital from our capital partners. And we take that money that we raise from our capital partners. I am a capital partner in the mortgage fund. And then our private money lending team then lends that money out to those borrowers. We collect an interest rate and then distribute the profits back to the capital partners in the mortgage fund. The annualized yield historically has been around 8.5%. We're actually celebrating our 5-year anniversary just coming up, which is pretty huge. And that's 5 years of meeting our target returns every single year. So props to the mortgage fund folks and the guys that run the private money lending department. It's a huge accomplishment, very low risk, really excellent in-house underwriting that they do. So if you're interested in kind of a more passive mailbox money approach, then give us a ring about the Marshall Reddick Mortgage Fund. But that's what we do here at Marshall Reddick. Now we are, as I mentioned, located in quite a few places, but none of these locations are on accident, right? So these are all really targeted and highly selected locations for investors to find profitable deals on areas where there's a lot of growth and a lot of opportunity for residential real estate investments. So our headquarters is in Newport Beach. We've got a satellite office in LA. We manage properties here. A lot of our clients are based in Southern California and even the Bay Area. But we have clients all over the world now at this point, and they're buying properties in the markets like New Braunfels, San Antonio, especially San Antonio, great market, Austin, Dallas, Houston, Cape Coral, Nashville, and Clarksville are all of our different offices, where each office has got a core team of really great local and real estate agents and our local property management that works at Marshall Reddick. I'm just a really good group of people there to help you find deals and service the property. So like I mentioned, none of those markets were selected accidentally. We didn't just go there because we had a good meal in Austin, although you can get a really good meal in Austin or San Antonio. Thank you, Leroy, for taking me to good Mexican restaurants. But we had different criteria than just good food and good music, right? So we look at these 7 core metrics before advising any client to invest in any market. So first of all, you got to look at where are the jobs, right? Is there a growing job market? What's the unemployment rate look like? And of course, what does the vacancy rate look like? And that's more related to the rental aspects. So is there demand for rental property? Or if you look online, is the average days on market 160 days for rentals? And is there a vacancy rate of greater than 10%? That would be obviously a high vacancy rate. So you want to make sure that there's renters there looking for rental properties, of course. Economic diversity, I think this one is such a key component. I get asked all the time from investors that are well-intentioned about finding good markets. And, they kind of sometimes latch on to like an idea of, well, Walmart's located in this particular location. And it's like, well, what are the other employers there? What happens if Walmart leaves, right? In a town of 50,000 people. So you have to think about that. You have to think of what happens if a major employer leaves. That's why we really do strongly believe in, mid-sized to larger metropolitan areas where you've got a diverse workforce of government, healthcare, technology, education, agriculture, manufacturing, transportation. I mean, the list goes on, right? I mean, think of an industry. They're going to be in San Antonio, they're going to be in Houston, they're going to be in Austin, and each one of those locations might have varying strength. Obviously, San Antonio's got a lot of military bases. I'm sure Leroy's going to talk about that, but it's a military town USA, but that's not all it is, right? There's a lot more going on out there. So economic diversity is so important. Housing affordability, I think this is, man, oh man, this is something that I struggle with here in Southern California. I work out of our Newport office, and it's tough working with first-time home buyers, that's for sure. So our average price point is around $1 million for a 3-bed, 2-bath, single-family house. So I would encourage, if you're looking at investment properties, to look at markets that have a lot of runway for appreciation and future growth, and that's where people are flocking. That's where people are going. If you look at the migration patterns just for, folks leaving or entering California, we're on a downswing in terms of population growth. And a lot of that is due because of the affordability. And they're going to places like San Antonio. And San Antonio is drawing a lot of people from other towns outside of San Antonio because it still has affordable housing and a lot of job opportunities. So last but not least, landlord friendly. You definitely need to be in a state that's landlord friendly. California certainly isn't that. We measure evictions in months, if not years out here, where it's measured in days and weeks in a place like Texas. So if you have a bad tenant, it's a little bit easier to deal with that situation. Strong education, I mentioned that. The reason I think you have to place emphasis on strong education is because you got to think about who is getting the education and what type of jobs are they going to hold when they graduate, right? They're usually going to have white collar jobs that pay a pretty decent median salary straight out of college, and those are going to be your rental base. You know, maybe they're not in a position to buy a house, but they got a good paying job right out of college. And if you have employers in the area that can employ them, like a place like San Antonio, then they're going to be a great resource for renters. And then reliable property management is super essential. We manage over 1,000 properties now just in the San Antonio to New Braunfels area. And yeah, we've got great reviews online. I highly encourage you looking us up, but you don't want to be in a market where there's only one property manager. So we're not the only property manager, the only game in town, but we're one of the best players in any market that we're in. But you don't want to be reliant only upon like one property manager in any market. This is one of my favorite slides to share every single time. These are all the amazing people at Marshall Reddick and all of our different offices, and you know, San Antonio and New Braunfels and Florida and in Tennessee and obviously Orange County. Leroy, you're somewhere in here, right? Did you make the cut this year?
I should be there somewhere.
You're hiding, I think, somewhere.
On the far, at the top one, far right.
Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, there's I see it. So yeah, these are all the people. I mean, we've got accountants and marketing and in-house analysts and real estate agents and private money lending and interns just learning the trade, property managers, of course. So yeah, these people are hard at work, kind of day in and out, and just trying to make the deal work for you guys. So kudos to them. And I want to introduce you guys to Leroy, local San Antonio native, understands the market really well. I'm out there in San Antonio with Leroy pretty recently. We had a really good time. He was a great host, and obviously if you guys decide to work with Leroy, I'm sure he'll take you out to some great Mexican restaurants and have music sung loudly in your face as well.
Definitely, would love to work with everybody. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Leroy Ramirez. I say Leroy with 2 E's. If not, that's Leroy. So Leroy Ramirez, I'm a licensed realtor in San Antonio, Texas. I'm a lifelong Texas resident. I've seen the growth happen within the last 10 to 15 years, and I've been a part of the growth, helping families buy pre-owned homes and helping investors like yourself purchase good investment properties. So it's been amazing. This ride, the growth in San Antonio has been amazing the last 10 to 15 years. Before starting with Marshall Reddick, I did mortgage banking. I did loan processing, did some underwriting. I then, I got tired working behind the desk, was looking for something else to do, and I ended up getting a job with new construction. I started off as a sales representative, and then I moved up to a management role. I managed the far west side of San Antonio and then the southeast side of San Antonio. So some of you may have heard of these builders or may have purchased some of these homes, but I worked with Lennar Homes, Starlight Communities, and Century Communities. I own a primary home in Texas. I'm doing a flip, which I'm should go under contract this week. So I stay busy. Happily married. Last year, I was able to do about 50 transactions, and I contribute that to the relationships that I have with investors like yourself. On my spare time, just volunteer at the church. Like I said, flip homes and just enjoy time with the family. I have two 18-year-olds and a 6-year-old. So the 6-year-old pretty much keeps me on my toes and keeps me active. Before I talk about Texas, I want to brag a little bit about Marshall Reddick. So before working with Marshall Reddick and I got my license and I went to a different brokerage. And that was a blessing in disguise. So working for a different brokerage made me realize what Marshall Reddick does different. So when I would help an investor, we would find him a home, find him a great deal, we'd go under contract. After it closed, I would outsource it to a property management company. Well, I'm not the owner of the home, so it was very hard for me to communicate and get updates from the property management company. So communication was horrible. Experience was pretty bad. So when I joined Marshall Reddick, that was one of the biggest reasons. It's truly a one-stop shop. Everything is under one umbrella. It's one big family. We'll help you purchase and find your home. We will property manage it, and then we would hopefully list it in 5, 10, 15 years, whatever your goals are. So that's the difference with Marshall Reddick. The Marshall Reddick difference is what I call it. And I'm truly blessed to work for a company like this.
Yeah, you know what, Leroy, I got to add to that, because you mentioned like the one side of that, which is maybe an investor works with a really good real estate agent, and then they, like yourself, right? And then you refer them out to property management. You have no control over that. And then that experience can go downhill from there. I've been working in property management with teams for 15 years now almost. And I've seen the other side of that, right? Which is where a landlord that recently bought an investment property worked with a unsophisticated real estate agent that doesn't really know investing very well. And they'll buy the property with the promise that it will rent for a certain amount, right? And then the landlord will maybe try and do it on their own, or the real estate agent that wasn't trained in investing tries to do it for them, and they fall flat on their face, and they don't get any traction, any activity. No one's really clicking on their rental listing. And then they come to Marshall Reddick. They come to us going, hey, can you help me rent out our property? And we have to sit there and go, you know, you worked with an agent that was outside of Marshall Reddick, and how did you arrive at this rental price? How did you underwrite your deal? And oftentimes the questions that we ask after they've worked with an outside agent that's not very focused on investing, we kind of learn pretty quickly that the agent overpromised a rent price, or they didn't really do a lot of due diligence on the investment side. And now the landlord's kind of stuck trying to figure out how to fit a square peg into a round hole. So yeah, you need both, right? You need a good realtor working with a good property management team. And that's definitely what we offer.
For sure. And that's why I really love Marshall Reddick, because then we not only have the people in place, but we have the process in place. So it just makes things a lot smoother. If you need to get a hold of somebody, I will be here. If I'm not here, Chris is here. If I'm not here, your listing agent for and the property management side's there. So everyone just communicates, makes it just a simple process, smooth for everybody. So let me talk a little bit about Texas, and specifically Central Texas. Central Texas is San Antonio, Austin, New Braunfels. Texas is the highest population in the state with 30 million families. Texas is also landlord friendly. So that means our laws are catered a little bit more to landlords. So it makes it easier if, you know, forbid we have to take anyone to court or evict anybody. It makes it a lot smoother here in Texas, and they're a little bit in favor more towards the landlord. We also have the lowest market default through COVID. Central Texas is a minimal disaster zone. Specifically San Antonio, we're right in the middle of Texas. So we're considered safe. We're not really getting any tornadoes. We're not near any water for tropical storms, which means low cost of insurance. And I think we've seen it lately where the cost of insurance has been going up, you know, sky high. So it really helps where we're centrally located. Low insurance also means we can maximize your cash flow. Central Texas is also has the most diversified workforce, which I'll go into a little bit, but we have military, especially here in San Antonio. We have 4 bases: Fort Sam, Lackland Air Force Base, Randolph, Camp Bullis, a lot of government jobs, tech, cybersecurity, corporate, industrial, and medical jobs. All right, so Central Texas, San Antonio, New Braunfels, and Austin. Austin is the music capital of Texas, tech hub. We can find a home there, entry point, I would say a little bit over in the 300. It's going to be our highest price point when it comes to these 3. New Braunfels is in the outskirts of Texas, in the middle of San Antonio and Austin. What I love about New Braunfels is that you can live in New Braunfels and commute to Austin for work, or work in Austin, or live in Austin, work in Austin and live in New Braunfels. So it's very centralized for that, for commuting. You're going to find homes there, I would say, in the high 200s, low 300s. San Antonio, out of the three, is going to be the most affordable. We're going to find homes there in San Antonio from the mid to low 200s. And as you can see here, we manage over 1,600 units, and we're continuing to grow.
And just so you guys know, there's a lot of dots back over on the screen. Every one of those dots is a property that we manage. So I think there was so many dots that you couldn't really read New Braunfels, but that's where all of the orange dots are. And then the yellow dots right there is where Seguin is, which is kind of a sub-market of New Braunfels as well.
Definitely. And as you can tell, even on the far west side of San Antonio, on this side, the orange and the purples, that's what we could consider the hot spot. So the far west side, New Braunfels, which we'll go over here in a bit, but that's where we do a lot of our transactions at. All right, so this right here is a appreciation trend for the last 25 years. It shows from 1998 to 2022. And as you can tell from the chart, there's more green than red. So that tells me San Antonio is pretty consistent. So if you see from 1999 to 2007, we were in the green, which I call the sunny days, the happy days. But if we all know, after the sun comes the rain, right? So in 2008, we had the crash. Those are that's why you see right in the negative. In 2008 and 2009, those were the days where it was gloomy, it was dark, it was rainy. But after the rain, always comes the sun, right? So we quickly rebounded in 2010, and we've been in the positive till 2022. We have an updated appreciation trend on our website, so I encourage you to go check it out. But for this particular case, as you can tell, from 2010 to 2022, we are in the green. In 2023 and 2024, we're trending in the red. So that tells me that 2025, which is this year, towards the end of this year, in 2026, that tells me that we're going to start trending in the green. So when it's time, the best time to buy is during the red stages, those rainy days, because that's when builders are giving the best deals possible in new construction properties and in pre-owned as well. So right now, builders are giving incentives, they're buying down rates, they're offering blinds, fridge, they're offering all these incentives for you to move forward because they need to get rid of that inventory. And pre-owned has been sitting there for some time. So what does that tell me? If a home that's sitting there for some time, that tells us that we can go in there and be aggressive for you and get you the best deal possible.
Absolutely. A couple notes on this is one major reason why I really like San Antonio is that if you compare this graph to, let's say, almost any West Coast market or East Coast market, you'll notice in 2008, 2009, for instance, let's just take Orange County for where I'm at. That graph was going to have a lot more red in it, and the numbers are going to be a whole heck of a lot bigger between 2008, 2009, 2010. We looked at a couple percentage negative appreciation in San Antonio. Well, you got double digits negative depreciation during the crash in Southern California or Arizona or Florida or New York or Chicago, right? And I think a big part of that is the diversity of workforce in San Antonio, and a big part of it also is the military bases. We tend not to slash military. It's not a very popular political move to make, especially during a recession. So those jobs are there to stay, and there's a lot of them available in San Antonio. So that's what I wanted to point out. The next thing I just wanted to quickly mention is you'll see property classes here on the appreciation graphs, and really what this is referring to, it's referencing the property class in relation to the median single family home price in this particular market. So the median single family home price is $337 right now in San Antonio. Leroy made a great point. You can buy some really solid B-class properties for $270, right? And in other areas of San Antonio, you can find great B-class, A-class properties for $250, $260. So The graph is just a kind of correlation between price and the type of tenant you're going to attract and the type of tenant or experience you're going to have. A-class properties, they tend to appreciate more, have less cash flow. B-class properties, you get a bit of both. C-class, definitely more cash flow focus. D-class is don't do it. That's what I like to say that stands for. You're going to have a lot of challenging times ahead with tenant quality. C-class is more of like your blue collar working class folks as your tenants, maybe a little bit higher maintenance, a little higher vacancy rates, and maybe some older properties too. B-class and A-class, that's going to be more of your white collar professionals, maybe small business owners, those types of folks. So we really specialize in that B and A-class territory because we've just seen that leads to long-term generational wealth when you have good, solid, appreciating assets. And that's certainly what you're going to find in the San Antonio market around that price range. So thanks, Leroy. Thanks for allowing me to add some additional color.
No, thank you. Thank you for your input.
Oh, I unfortunately made us skip a slide. There we go.
All right, so you mentioned employers. So here in San Antonio, here are some of the few top employers that we have. We have Amazon, Walmart, USAA is a big bank that employs about 17,000 employees. Wells Fargo employs about 5,000 employees. HEB has about 40,000 employees in San Antonio. And then we have our military base which we're 80,000 strong here in San Antonio, Military City, USA. We have Fort Sam, which is our medical training facility. We have Lackland, which is our Air Force base, Randolph, which is our pilot and aviation training, and we have Camp Bullis, that's going to be more our field training. So there's a lot of job opportunities here, and we have a lot coming in the future, which I'm going to talk about here shortly as well. Here, San Antonio is broken up into 4 divisions: the north, the east, the south, and the west. Talk a little bit about the west. So the west side of San Antonio has been the #1 hotspot in San Antonio for, I would say, the last 5 to 7 years when it comes to starts for new construction. So builders do, go up, they go in their helicopters and look at where the land is at. Then they start to do some land acquisition. So in the far west side has been the #1 spot for new construction for the last, I would say, 7 years. There's a zip code out there, 78253. If you Google 78253 open door, it's the top 3 zip code in the nation per open door. So it's super, there's a lot of growth out there. And what I love about it, it's still affordable. We can find you a great deal on that side of town. I would say within the 250s, maybe a little bit lower, but there's still a lot of growth out there, and there's still great deals to happen. It's also really close to Lackland Air Force Base, SeaWorld, and Six Flags, which is our theme parks, and one of our nicest malls in San Antonio, La Cantera. On the south side of San Antonio, you're going to find a lot of housing diversity. There's a lot of growth happening now. I would say within the next 5 years, it's going to be one of the hottest spots in San Antonio. There's a lot of land out there that's still untapped, undeveloped, but there's a lot of growth. So most recently, Toyota Manufacturing just has bought some land out there, and JCB, which is a construction company, so what that's going to do is create a lot of jobs out there. On the north side of San Antonio, it's going to be our high concentration of medical and white collars, probably going to be our most expensive side of San Antonio. You're going to have our nicest mall, La Cantera shopping center, and a JW mega resort out there. Homes there are going to be higher price, I would say $300,000-$400,000 if we can find something out there. So more A-class properties on that side. The east side of San Antonio, near Converse, that area is going to be an affordable area. There's a lot of manufacturing going on out there. We have new construction, master developments. We can find you great deals around the 250s. What I love about the east side of San Antonio is it's not too far a commute to New Braunfels or Seguin. So you can live in New Braunfels and work in Converse and get there, I would say, within 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, one thing thank you, Leroy, that's really valuable. And one thing I really love about this map is that it illustrates where the good deals are in San Antonio. And if you see all of the arrows, they're not in the inner city, right? They're not right downtown. And that's where a lot of the older housing stock is. It can be very block by block. Some pockets are really nice. Some pockets are definitely not so nice, right? And so the suburbs where there's some newer construction properties have HOAs that keep the community in line in terms of conformity and uniformity. You've got manicured lawns and nice sidewalks, right? And old growth trees, and it's very a pleasant place to be. I would say where all of these arrows are pointing are what we like to call trick or treat neighborhoods, right? Where you would walk around at night with your kids on Halloween night and feel safe, trick or treating and knocking on your next door neighbors. If we pointed those arrows a little bit further inside the bullseye there of these two circles, you can kind of see it's like a bullseye. Inside the central circle, you might not necessarily want to do that. So I think it's really important to work with someone like Leroy that knows where those pockets are, where there's investment opportunity, and which areas are going to be, safe, good, good schools and relatively solid appreciation bets over the next, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that is important to show on the map that the growth is happening outside the city limits. And the reason that's a good thing is because there's no city taxes, there's county taxes. So the tax rate is usually a little bit lower than inside the city. So again, trying to maximize your cash flow. So it's very important to work with an expert in the area so they can know what's the taxes in that particular community. What school district is there? Is it a new school? Because new schools, we all know, attract families. So it's very important to know San Antonio has its pockets. It's not very centralized. So working with an expert in the area is really important. All right, so let's talk about the future, the growth, right? So San Antonio from now to the 2020 to 2030. So Port San Antonio is our new office that we have in San Antonio. It's a tech innovation hub. It attracts companies in cybersecurity, aerospace, robotics. It's creating just lots of jobs. It's a 1,900-acre platform southwest of downtown. So it's about 12 minutes from downtown, and it's going to create a lot of jobs here in San Antonio. It's creating them now. It's going to employ about 18,000 people, and it's just a beautiful building that we have out there. So Port San Antonio, if you get some time, look it up, that we can get some information on it. But that's going to create a lot of cybersecurity jobs here in San Antonio.
That building looks like a
futuristic.
Yes. from 2030 is where that building's coming from.
Yes. So let's talk about the northeast side of San Antonio. So northeast side of San Antonio has a big development, 51-acre development. It's going to have county offices, retail space, shops, restaurants, medical office, 2 hotels, green space. Sandy 51. It's going to be on the northern east side of San Antonio near Converse, Lackland Air Force Base. So that's going to attract a lot of military families. So again, it's important to know what's coming to San Antonio. That way, it's important to invest now. So when the growth happens, you already have a home in there. You got a great deal, purchase on the low end, because when this growth and development happens, that usually tends to increase the price on the homes around in the area. All right, so that was San Antonio, Converse, northeast side, far west side of San Antonio. But the outskirts of San Antonio, there's a little town called New Braunfels and Buda. There's a lot of growth happening in between San Antonio and Austin. New Braunfels, Buda, Seguin, Kyle, all these little towns have been untapped until recently. Right now, there's a major development, 1,900-acre development coming soon between New Braunfels and Buda, Texas. It's located on both sides of 35. It's going to include new schools, residential, light and industrial, commercial, mixed parks, trailways. It's going to be huge. So again, lots of development. It's important to get in early because we know when all this development happens, it's going to increase the prices.
I didn't really quite understand like how much development is going on out there from a commercial perspective until you hop on I-35 and then you get stuck in traffic at 5 p.m. and you realize like this is like the artery, you know, of the highway artery for Texas. It's just massive in terms of its importance. So having a home, I believe, on that I-35 corridor is going to be an extremely valuable investment over the next 5 to 20 years, just because there's shopping malls and commercial corridors popping up left and right on this corridor. So yeah, on this highway, I should say. So yeah, it's great slide. This is such an important like thing to envision and understand, I think, as an investor.
For sure. And I know I mentioned, you know, I talked a lot about the far west side of San Antonio, Converse, New Braunfels area, Buda. The beautiful thing is that we also have duplexes in those areas, so which I'm excited to show here in a bit. All right, so I want to go over some current and upcoming deals. These are examples. If you haven't gone onto our website, I really encourage you to do so. You can go on there, play with the website, play with the numbers. But this right here is my favorite builder. So Marshall Reddick partners up with the builder that specifically works on duplexes for investors. So when they find the land, they look for land that's going to be in good school districts. They look for land that growth is happening near job growth, job opportunities. And this specific duplex is located on the far west side of San Antonio. So the far west side of San Antonio employs Lackland Air Force Base, Microsoft Data Center, Toyota manufacturing plant. These industries provide a steady influx of job and technology, military, and manufacturing. So these duplexes are ideal for investments. The finishes, that's another thing. So to find a duplex of this quality is very tough to beat when it comes to price. At 525, 1299 square feet, then we have at 545, 1484 square feet, and then what I call the Papa Bear. That's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1686 square feet. That one's priced at 565. So these are all under 600 new construction duplexes. And right now, what I really was super excited to share with you, everyone on the call here, is that we're running a promotion. So this builder is doing a promotion, a 3.75 interest rate. That is insane. I can't even get that for my primary home buyers. We're not seeing those rates. So they're doing a 3.75 with 30% down and a 4.25 with 25% down. So this, I would encourage you, get on the website or after the call here, reach out to us and just if you're interested in one of these duplexes. This one is specifically on the far west side, Amanda Park. It's going to house around 120 duplexes. Right now, we're on the first phase. We're about 30 duplex in. But yeah, this is a super nice community. Right across the street is going to have your middle school, your high school, and your elementary. So a lot of families tend to like that because they can walk to the school.
That's exactly right. That location. I actually flew to San Antonio a few weeks back and toured this particular community, and I like a couple things about it. I like quite a few things. First of all, in terms of location, walking distance. No one walks in Texas, I know that, Leroy, but you could walk to school, right? You don't need to take the bus, which is really nice. And then it's surrounded by single family homes, really nice single family homes, right? To me, that's going to drive up appreciation. The tenants are going to want to stay there for a long time because it is a good school district. And then when it comes to the developer is very savvy in how they design their units and their duplexes. So one thing is that they don't make 2-bed, 1-bath units, right? Well, why is that? Well, we want our tenants to stay in as investors, right? We want our tenants to stay for 3, 4, 5 years. We want them to grow into their property. The only way that they're going to do that is in a home that they can grow into, right? So a 3-bed, 2-bath needs to be a minimum setting that you have for your multifamily, especially if you want rents you want to capture that single family rent rate growth. You can do that with this type of a duplex. Secondly, they're not running into each other. So you got entry doors on opposite sides of the property. You've got privately fenced yards. You've got 2-car garages on each unit. It feels and lives like a single family home. I went into the finished product and it's very, very nice. And so that developer is very smart in that they always intentionally buy land in areas that have got established single family home communities already in existence. I think that's just a really great way for us as investors to capture the appreciation growth of those single families on our duplexes, as well as the rent rate growth. And they're offering a really, really good interest rate because, you know, they kind of need to, right? Rates are high, 7.25% for most folks. And if they want to incentivize activity, that's the kind of rates that they need to offer investors. So I think it behooves investors to take advantage of that type of pain in the marketplace in an area that's got a really long-term good trajectory. I do kind of want to walk through the calculator real fast with you guys. So every single property on our website includes this pro forma, right? And you guys can play, if you jump on our website and you click on, you go to investments and you go down to properties and you click any property, they all have the pro forma at the bottom. You can put in your own down payments and all of that, right? We have a down payment of 30% here because that's how you capture the 3.75 rate. It's 25% down is 4.25. Is that right, Leroy?
3.75, 30% down. And
yeah,
then
so
25% down, 4.25. Yes, sir.
Perfect. So we also put initial repair costs on there, a brand new construction duplex built by these folks. There is no initial repair cost. It comes with the fridges, the blinds, the whole works. So it's you're ready to go finding a tenant day one. Not so much the case with pre-owned homes. You might have some substantial repair costs on a older home, right? That's being resold. So we incorporate closing costs so that you guys know that the investment capital that you need to bring to the table. These are underwritten with the most recent rents. So we're coming out of winter right now, but we're looking in hindsight, looking at the most recent comps and the most recent units that we've rented in January, in December, in November, which is like the kind of the worst time to rent out a property. And so these rents have a lot of potential to grow as we enter into the spring and summer. So keep that in mind. We are about to enter into the spring and summer, so there might be some upside on rents. Of course, you got to take into all the account your fixed expenses, your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, your property management fee, and your HOA. There's a small HOA that's not, that's designed to just keep uniformity with the community. That's great. It makes, makes it easy for us to track and ensure that the neighbor next door doesn't park their tractor on their yard, right? So that's why we want the HOA kind of taking a stance on that. Utilities and landscaping is something that the tenant provides. So that's your fixed monthly expense. So your cash in your pocket each month is $210. You might want to set some money aside for the eventual vacancy and eventual maintenance that you're going to have. Typically, we say 10 to 15% is a really healthy amount to sort of set aside for eventual maintenance and vacancy. And then we take into account your 15-year projected profit. You can change that on the calculator. So if you have a goal of keeping a property, 20, 30 years, great. Change it to 20 or 30 years. And the annual ROI, the return on investment, here is 18.66% per year if you held it for 15 years. That takes into consideration appreciation, which is really healthy for San Antonio. It averages at 5%. We kind of taper down those expectations a little bit on our end. It's more like 4.25 on our calculator because we don't want to overpromise. but historically it's around 5. And then when it comes to principal pay down, you need to take that into consideration. Your tenant's obviously paying down your mortgage. So we do not factor in rent growth on these calculations. So just keep in mind, we're anticipating rents to grow at some point, but on our calculator, it doesn't take that into consideration, just because we want to offer you guys like a very, very conservative estimate of what the return on investment can be over 15 years. Anything to add there, Leroy?
No, just this particular community, I don't think we talked about it, but taxes. So this one is at 1.83. To give you an example, in the city in San Antonio, it's 2.6. So we're in the outskirts at 1.8. That's going to give us, able for us to maximize our cash flow. And then one thing you said as well is the HOA. So I call the HOA as a protecting your investment. So you're paying, you want to have especially if it's a new home, new construction, you want it to have an HOA because like you said, you don't want someone devaluing the property or painting it some color, painting their garage purple, pink, some weird colors, things like that. So it really keeps it uniform, super clean. These are zero scape in the front. So when you drive these communities, it just makes it look just, super clean, super modern. So that's what particular 2 things that I like specifically about this community.
And this is another duplex here that's in the outskirts of San Antonio. This is St. Hedwig, did I pronounce that right? St. Hedwig?
Yes, sir.
So I like the name. It's I think Harry Potter had an owl named Hedwig. So anyways, I actually had the opportunity to tour these properties with the developer and got a kind of firsthand look at what they were doing. So what I really like here, this is a lower price point. Obviously, this is 475-ish, just under 475. Also, same developers offering the same incentive for the interest rate, but it's a little lower capital cost. This is going to be maybe, it's A class, maybe bordering on B class. You're right next to Randolph Air Force Base, which is going to attract a really nice tenant quality. I've got an investment property right next to Lackland Base, and I've got 2 tenants that are, medics, and they're taking great care of the house. We do annual inspections on our property, so I know that, right? So I can see that they're maintaining it well. And so those military tenants do a really good job of maintaining the property. Also provides similar cash flow as the Nesprawl duplex, but is a little bit lower cost of capital to get into the door to buy a duplex. Anything to add here on this one, Leroy?
Yeah, so I mean, what I like about St. Hedwig, it's affordability. So it's a little bit on the outskirts of San Antonio, but it's near San Antonio, Converse, and not a far drive from New Braunfels. So it's kind of centrally located in between all 3. And again, if you're looking into a duplex under 500,000 of this quality with the finishes, with the interest rate of 3.75 or 4.25, it's very tough to beat.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I tried beating that. I couldn't. Like you can go on Redfin. I mean, anyone can do this on this call. Go on Redfin and look for duplexes or new construction and see what the price points are. And it's tough to find something under 5 that's well built in a good location that's has a 3.75 interest rate. That's pretty fantastic. So, and then Leroy, if you want to cover this property,
Yeah, for sure. So this particular property I had sent out to one of my clients. This one's in the far west side of San Antonio, in an area called outside the city limits called Alamo Ranch. It's off a major street called Culebra, outside 1604, which is one of our major highways. What I liked about this community is it backs up to Northside Independent School District. Northside Independent School District is a highly rated school district in San Antonio. But I also want to give you an example that we don't just we do a lot of new construction, but we also try to find you deals like this. So this is a 3-year-old home built in 2021, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1826 square feet at $250,000. That's an incredible deal. These are selling in the same community, brand new. new construction for like $30,000, $40,000 more. This particular floor plan. I always tell my investors we're purchasing a home, but we're also purchasing a community. So when I look for homes, I keep that in mind. If I was a renter, where would I want to live? I'm looking at the home, I'm looking at the community. This community has pools, basketball courts, walking trails. So it makes it a lot easier when we're doing on the back end work, which is the rental side of things. This particular rent was at $1,900 a month. And as you can tell here, the mortgage payment, the rate, it was a 6.25, which we're cash flowing a positive just under $100. Though we're projected a 15-year projected profit of $158,000. So this particular home, a great deal. I really like the way the floor plan layout, the community, low tax rate, good school districts. This is an ideal property that I would showcase to an investor or a client looking for a home at 250 or under.
Yeah, and one thing I just wanted to add to that is those of you that are on the call thinking you can't get a single family house at 6.25% interest rate. You're probably right. The reason why we have a 6.25 rate attached to this is because Leroy knows how to negotiate with listing agents and developers, right? And so we ask for a 2% credit or concession to go straight to the buyer, our client, you, to buy down your interest rate from 7.25 to 6.25. So that's how we're getting the rates down a little bit lower, is with concessions once we start negotiating with the seller. And one other thing you might notice is that the management fee is a little bit higher. It's 9% for single families, 8% for duplexes. That's kind of the only difference there. But yeah, this one still cash flows. It's a really good deal. Thanks for finding this one.
For sure.
So yeah, I think, as I've mentioned, this really doesn't work without property management. So Leroy's job is to help you acquire a fantastic deal and underwrite that deal with as much accuracy as possible. He's been dead on for all of my clients so far. But once we actually close on the home, we got to go lease that property. We got to inspect it to make sure it's habitable for tenants. Obviously, we're going to do an inspection when you buy the house, but we need to do another inspection on the property management side, right? And rekey the home, or a couple little minor things that we might need to knock out. And then we got to get it on the market, right? Find that tenant, screen that tenant, sign the lease agreement with them, and then deal with the litany of maintenance issues that's going to happen over the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? New construction homes, do they have a ton of maintenance issues right up front? Of course not. But people are living in the property, things are going to happen. There's neighbors, there's always something, right, in property management. So you're going to want to hire a really good property manager. I highly encourage y'all to look up our reviews online, Google, Zillow, Yelp, to kind of check out how we stack up against the competitors. You're not forced to use us for property management, but it's highly encouraged, and I think it'll be a super smooth process if you do buy with us and use us for property management. Obviously, we're providing a lot of education today, and we hope you guys got something out of this, but we have a ton of education on our website. So go to marshallreddick.com, go under Learn, and you will see hundreds of articles and guides and videos, everything from like 1031 exchanges to market data packets. So every single market that we're invested in, we do exhaustive research in-house with our analytics team. We update these booklets every year as the market cycles change. And so when you go on our website and you look at any property in a particular market, so let's just say a San Antonio market, look at a San Antonio property, you will be able to see the market data packet right there about halfway down the page. It's a PDF, you can download it, or you can just use this link right here. Check out all the details. I mean, we didn't cover a quarter of what's in this market data packet. Really encourage you guys to read that, or any market that you guys are interested in investing in. Have this information at your fingertips is just incredibly helpful. I talked about how we rate properties. a bit, we actually have a book for that. Anything that we talk about, we have a book for it. So that's what I like to say. And you guys can use this link to download the Reddick property rating ebook. That's going to go in a lot more detail on how we classify properties from A class to B class, C class, D class, what type of tenants that's going to attract, what type of experience you're going to have. Is it going to be more appreciation or cash flow focused, or a bit of both with B class? And every investor's got different goals, right? What may be your goal is not my goal. And I guess that brings me neatly to this next slide, which is I'm an advisor at Marshall Reddick. I work with all sorts of different investors, from new investors to really seasoned ones. And my job is to kind of understand what you're looking to accomplish based off of your goals, right? Are you looking for a cash flow property in a relatively affordable market? Are you looking for appreciation focused properties? Maybe you're looking for immediate income. Maybe our mortgage fund makes more sense, right? So my job is to learn about your goals by asking you a lot of questions, evaluate your options, decide on a time frame when you want to move forward with something, and then obviously your goals are kind of going to dictate your criteria, right? A cash flow property, if you want cash flow, a cash flow property is going to look a lot different than an A-class property. That's more appreciation focused. And then that's also going to dictate your markets, right? Certain markets are good for different things. And then once we identify all that information, I'll sit you down with all of the key players, like Leroy here, who's given up his time to educate you guys. I would love to work with anybody on this call, and of course set you up with Leroy, and we'll help you find a great property together. So my name's Chris again. I don't know why. Where's your slide? Where's your face, Leroy? Should have added you on.
I know, right?
We left you off, but we'll move you in. So thank you everybody for joining the call. I really appreciate you guys showing up tonight. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat. We'll reach out to you guys and make sure that we schedule a call with you. And there's also going to be a little consultation form if you guys don't mind filling out the little feedback form, letting us know any questions that you have, or what you're hoping to accomplish. Leroy and I will reach out to you and help you out. So thanks again for joining us. We hope you have a great night, and we'll see you on the next one.
Good night.